What's up, Mafia? It's day one of training camp and Jalen Hurts already broke a narrative 3 years in the making. We've got 152 million reasons why Howie Roseman doesn't blink. And we've got a pass rusher down. And that room might not be done building. Football is finally back, and we're getting into all of it, so let's get it mixing. Let's start here, because day one of training camp gave this fan base something that we haven't seen in 3 years. Jalen Hurts threw over the middle of the field. Not once, multiple times. By one report out of practice, Jalen Hurts hit 6 or more different completions between the hashes, and these weren't safe 5-yard checkdowns. Some of these were 15-yard throws right between contested windows. Jalen Hurts connected with Dontavian Wicks over the middle. He also got a ball to Devontae Smith through the middle of the field with Quinyon Mitchell draped all over him. And the majority of those snaps, Jalen Hurts was doing it under center, which by itself is the most under center work anyone's seen this offense do in the Nick Sirianni era. Because if you watch this team the last 3 seasons, you know exactly why this counts. This offense got labeled as predictable, got labeled as scared of throwing in the middle of the field. One practice doesn't erase that label, but it's the first real sign that Sean Mannion is building something different than what came before him.
I think the number one thing is the work and the repetition and getting opportunity to get that in. And so you go throughout the spring, you take it as it comes, you spend time with your teammates, you grow, you embrace every rep, you're intentional about every rep. Then you come back here and you kind of turn that process, you extend that process even more. So I'm not at the season yet. I'm taking this one day at a time here, trying to build with everybody and make sure we all on the same page.
But hold on though, because while Hurts was making plays, the defense was making plays as well. Quinyon Mitchell opened camp by breaking up Hurts' very first pass attempt, a ball intended for Dontavian Wicks. That's your reigning shutdown corner reminding this offense on day one that nothing is given and everything is earned. And Dontavian Wicks, the new addition at receiver, stayed involved all practice long, including one throw that reportedly had Zach Bond a step late, unable to bat the ball down. If Wicks is getting this kind of run, with the first team unit in the first practice of camp, that's not a rotational body. That's a receiver Sean Mannion trusted enough to throw him into traffic right away. But Devontae Smith remained the centerpiece of everything. Every rep that mattered went through him first. And the matchup between Quinyon Mitchell every single day of camp is going to be one of the best individual battles on the entire roster. Then you have Lane Johnson and Saquon Barkley both saying this new system is easier to execute than it looks like from the outside. Saquon Barkley pointed out he's getting inside help in pass protection, which is something he never had in his career before.
I've always been intrigued with this kind of system. Watching it kind of from afar and seeing a lot of guys have a lot of success in it. They have a chance to be really good in this system too. You always, I know, like I said, I've seen it from afar, but now like actually studying it and working it and trying to put myself in the system, I feel like it's going to open up some things that I may not have been able to show as much in my career. So I'm excited for that part of it too.
When your all-pro left tackle and your starting running back are both saying a brand new offense feels simple to play in on day one, that's a sign for good things to come. And one more name before we move on. Rookie quarterback Cole Payton closed the day with a deep touchdown to Britton Covey. That came versus the backups, so let's not crown him yet. Before a developmental arm buried on the depth chart, that's the kind of rep that gets you remembered heading into preseason. Now, while all that was happening on the practice field, the biggest story of the week was already locked in before anybody put on a helmet. Jalen Carter is now the highest paid defensive tackle in NFL history. 4 years, $152 million. $106 million of that is guaranteed, keeping Jalen Carter in Midnight Green through 2031. That number got agreed upon right as players reported for training camp, and makes Jalen Carter the centerpiece of the defense for the next half-decade.
It means a lot, man. First of all, I'm thankful for them giving me the opportunity to come here. Even before the draft, my first visit, just having a conversation with them, I knew that it was going to be a lot of trust and love. And if I was able to get here, that it was going to go perfect and everything was just going to work out. And, I know we're here for the contract, and the contract is a reflection of the trust that the coaches, the players, the organization has in me. And, I'm very thankful for that.
Nick Sirianni said Jalen Carter reported back in phenomenal shape after signing that deal. And that matters, because conditioning has been the one real question mark on this guy since he got to Philadelphia. But Howie Roseman assured us that this deal was always going to happen. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when.
Since Jalen's been here, he's put his head down, he's worked hard, he's made huge impact plays for this organization, for this team. Last year, he wasn't 100%. He tried to fight through that and play through that. We understand that. Like anyone, when you're 25 years old, you're still growing as a person and as a player. Again, we were trying to sign Jalen in March. Understood it was unique because of where the market was and where he thought and Drew thought it was going. But it was always positive, and we were always trying to get him extended.
And that is Howie Roseman doing what Howie Roseman does, locking up a superstar without blowing up the room around him. Because paying a 25-year-old with 2 shoulder procedures on his record is always going to come with a risk. But you don't get a player like Jalen Carter walking through your door twice. You pay him, then you build the rest of your roster around what he does to opposing offensive lines. But here's the point where it starts to get a little bit more complicated. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis both got paid this offseason. Moro Ojomo didn't. Moro Ojomo is heading into the final year of his rookie deal. He switched agencies this offseason and signed with Athletes First, the same group that landed some of the biggest contracts in the NFL. That's normally the first sign a player is preparing to test open market instead of taking a team-friendly deal. With 2 defensive tackles now eating up premium cap space, there's a real chance the Eagles can't justify a third big money deal at that position. Ojomo put together a strong 2025 season stepping into Milton Williams' old role. If he repeats that in 2026, he's set up for a Milton Williams type payday somewhere else next spring. So, here's the actual question, Mafia, and drop it in the comment section below. Do the Eagles find a way to keep Moro Ojomo on the team? Or do they let him play out his last year and let him walk like Milton Williams did? Drop your opinion in the comment section and let me know. Now, here's the part of the day that actually started before practices even began. Jonathan Greenard, the Eagles' big free agent up front, opened up training camp on the PUP list with a pectoral strain. Howie Roseman said he heard it lifting weights before camp even started, and the team is calling it a short-term issue, not something that really threatens the entire season.
Yeah, he was lifting, and he has a pec strain. I think that one of the things that we know about Greenard is he's going to be ready to play. And I think training camp's so important, practice is so important. But when you have a guy like that who prepares the way he does, who has the experience in the NFL the way he does, you know he's going to be ready to play when we start the season. And we just, we want to be smart with all our guys and get them ready, but at the same time, acknowledge kind of the process that they have to take to make sure that they are 100% when they come back. And again, this is not a long-term injury. This is nothing we're concerned about. But when we can, we're going to make sure that, we take care of our guys and put them in the best position to have a great year.
But think about this. This is the same Jonathan Greenard the Eagles traded 2 third-round picks for back in April, then signed to a 4-year deal worth up to $100 million. He's supposed to be the #1 edge rusher on this defense. Instead, day 1 of camp, he sidelined again, and that follows the 2025 season, where he missed time with a shoulder injury and needed surgery once that year ended. Howie Roseman isn't panicking. He assured us that this isn't long-term and he expects Greenard to play. He also said this week that this roster is never actually finished, that the front office stays in contact with every team, looking for ways to get better. He didn't commit to anything on a specific edge rusher. He just left that door open. The silver lining, if there is one, is that's more first-team reps for Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, and Arnold Ebiketie. All guys who need every single one of those snaps heading into the real season. But here's where I'm conflicted. On one side, Jonathan Greenard has now missed real time in back-to-back years with upper body injuries. And the guys behind him on the depth chart still haven't proven they can carry a full 16-game slate as a leading man. If this runs into the season, Philadelphia's pass rush takes a real hit. On the other hand, it's a pec strain from a weight training session, not a torn anything else. The team's calling it minor, and they're 6 weeks before the opening game to get Jonathan Greenard right. Spending more draft capital or cap space on an edge rusher this deep into an offseason that already paid Carter, Davis, and Greenard doesn't line up with how this front office usually operates. Sometimes the only answer really is just letting your guys get healthy and get the reps when they can. I'm not picking a side on this one. Both of those arguments are fair, but what I do know is Howie Roseman is watching as closely as we are. Now real quick before we close this thing out, because this one is small, but it's definitely worth mentioning. While Devontae Smith was working over the middle against Quinyon Mitchell here in Philadelphia, AJ Brown was getting locked down 200 miles to the north. Day 1 in New England, 1 target, 0 catches. On day 2, cornerback Christian Gonzalez erased him completely. But honestly, you can frame it any way you want. Early camp reps without pads means absolutely nothing in July, but it's hard not to notice the timing. The same day this fan base watched Devontae Smith go to work against the top 5 corner, the guy Philadelphia traded away couldn't get separation against one. Make of that what you will. So, where are we right now with this Eagles team? Because day one gave you basically the entire story of where this team is at right now. Jalen Hurts is throwing in a completely different offense than what we've seen in past years. Jalen Carter is locked in as the face of the defensive line for the next half decade. Meanwhile, Moral Jomo's clock is ticking, whether we want to admit it or not. Jonathan Greenard is dealing with the same injury luck that followed him out of Minnesota. And this coaching staff is banking on the guys behind him to be ready when their time is called. And 200 miles away, the receiver that we moved on from is already answering questions that Philadelphia stopped asking months ago. One practice, that's all it took to set the tone for the entire summer. And Eagles fans, we're all here for it. Now, if you're locked in for this whole ride with me, you already know what to do. Smash that like button, get subscribed if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single Patrick report coming out of this camp. Because tomorrow, the pads go on, and if they want to look like this without contact, I generally don't know what's going to happen when they do. And once again, I've been Brother Shy, and this has been the Midnight Green Mafia.